Hey guys, how's it going? My name's the Breph and welcome to another challenge video. Today I'm asking the question, can you beat Pokémon Emerald Kaizo with only Eeveelutions? Yes, you heard me, we are gonna try and see whether or not everyone's favourite evolution line and all 6 forms can beat the hardest ROM hack ever created. At least as far as I'm concerned anyway. In terms of all of their base stats, Eevee is by far the worst of all of the options, with only 325 base stats. And actually the spread of them isn't that good either, with 65 special defense being its highest, and everything else being between 45 and 55. Not ideal. Everything else has a total of 525, which is much more ideal than what we're working with in terms of Eevee. They're all using special attacks in this one, and actually we get a lovely spread of coverage between the different types. To be honest, there's going to be an awful lot to mention in this one, so I'm just going to skip the intro and jump straight into the rules. This is Emerald Kaizo, so I'm making it as easy for myself as possible. The only Pokemon I'm allowed to use in battle are the 6 Eeveelutions that we will hack in. Yes, I'm hacking them all in from the start. No, I don't care. It's Emerald Kaizo, so we're not allowed to, but just in case, no items are allowed in battle, but held items are fine. And finally, TM usage is of course allowed, if not necessary. With that all said, let's jump straight into it and begin this torturous journey. The game begins and we choose the female character, giving ourselves the witty and inventive name of Breph. We are then tasked with heading next door to see our neighbour, and we go up to his room and grab him by the ball. The big red ball that he's left on his floor, don't get weird with it. He comes up and tells us his name is Brendan, but also says that he goes by an alias online of Alan Jensen 59, and reveals that he was the person who recommended this challenge to us in the live stream chat last week. With that done, we head to rescue his father and we get access to our starter, who I've changed to be an Eevee. And subsequently, through the aid of PK Hex's save file editor, we hack in our full team of Pokemon, and I did my research. I loaded up this ROM several times with multiple different starters. These are the accurate level 5 starting moves for our team. So, in reverse order, may I introduce you to our Vaporeon, Asa Akira, with the moves Muddy Water, Double Edge, and Helping Hand. Our Flareon, named Iroh, with Heat Wave, Ember, and, surprise, Helping Hand. Jolteon, McGrath, who starts for some reason with Signal Beam, Quick Attack, and Helping Hand. Our Espeon, Dravinia, who starts with Tackle, Sand Attack, and Helping Hand. Our Umbreon, Umbridge, who starts with Tackle, Sand Attack, Helping Hand, and Mean Look. And finally, our Eevee, named Laika, who starts with Tackle, Sand Attack, and Helping Hand. There is, of course, a naming scheme for this one, and if you can get all 6 references, and I mean all 6 of them, then you can get yourself a shout out in the next video. Anyway, with the team introduced, I feel like we should talk about the game, and that means first heading up to tackle the fight against Brendan. That is as straightforward as you'd think. We now have a full team of 6, and he has an early game Torchic, so it really makes no difference, even though it gets speed boost as its ability. With that done, we make our way towards Rustborough, but before we get there, we bump into a familiar face. Yes, we've got to fight Red, and he starts off with an Eevee. So we start off with Asa Akira, and we completely and utterly drench it. To be fair, at this point in the game, we've got all the coverage we need to deal with his team, so we just switch in and out of the appropriate Eeveelutions and use the correct moves, and before long, we have defeated Red with no problems whatsoever. Although, having finished that fight, we are posed with a problem. Now, I can never understand Emerald Kaizo enough. I don't know what level's appropriate to go in and challenge the gym, because everything in the level curve is so over the top, and that's not even taking into account the fact that all the gym leaders have 6 Pokemon, and they've got stupid strategies. I settle for grinding up every member of the team to level 18 and then heading into the gym to deal with the trainers, and unfortunately on the way Asa Akira leveled up to level 21. And that made this gym just a touch easy. You're not going to hear that word come out of my mouth very often when it comes to Emerald Kaizo, but I mean a single shot sweep on the entire team. Muddy Water just removed every single thing that she had. Honestly, the power of Vaporeon is just, so beautiful, and people wonder why this is Plonkerboy 900's favourite evolution. Well, first gym was kinda simple, so I do all the stuff I need to do and make my way over to Dewford, picking up the Silk Scarf and giving it straight away to Eevee. Now I can't get all of the type boosting items for all of my Pokemon, but I can get a large selection of them, the first of which clearly starts here. I mean, after that, all we do is change the trendy saying to "I am hard, ladies," and then go in to fight Brawly for the second gym badge. Again, I do a little bit of leveling up, getting everyone in the party up to level 23 and heading into the gym, defeating all the gym trainers using Dravinia, and unfortunately getting her up to level 27 in the process. Why is this unfortunate? Well, it means that we get to use Confusion on all of his fighting types and again sweep an entire gym aside. I can't believe it, but for 2 gym badges in a row, Emerald Kaizo is completely and utterly a joke of a game. What isn't a joke, however, is the ice puzzle in the Granite Cave, and it makes me want to tear my hair out every single time. But fortunately, the more I play, the more I memorise it, so it only took me 2 minutes to get through. On speed up, mind you. And then we bump into Steven, delivering him the letter as per usual and making our way over to Slateport. Here we head into the museum and knock aside a couple of complete and utter grunts before being confronted by their boss, Archie. He tells us that we need to smash like on this video or else he's going to drown us in the night. He also says we need to subscribe to the Breph if you haven't already, and possibly even hit that notification bell if you're feeling a little bit saucy. With that said, he promptly leaves and gives us a moment with Captain Stern, a moment that we seize the opportunity to lean forward to whisper in his ear, "I'm the captain now," before making our way off to fight the rival. Unfortunately for Brendan, the type coverage that we possess is infinitely more powerful than the type coverage he possesses, and therefore this entire fight was pointless. It was so easy to beat him. But by doing so, we make our way in to Moorville and have to fight Wally at the doors to the gym. Now he has his level 70 Rolts, which is scary on the surface, but when you realise it's only got Pain Split and Will-O-Wisp, and it's really nothing to worry about. Honestly, a couple of faint attacks from Umbridge and it was all over. However, our business in Moorville was not, because we still had to take on Watson. Now this fight is usually quite scary and this was no exception. Eevee's quite weak, and of course we've got Vaporeon in the team, and I was a bit concerned. However, when we got into it and we got really stuck in, there really wasn't anyone that did a bad job. Everyone performed their role perfectly, and a crit Confusion from Dravinia finished up the fight. And that Discord message from Genix has finished up this recording. Go and check out his channel, by the way. It's a good time for him to drop in while I'm recording audio. Go and check him out. Go and subscribe. Incredibly, criminally underrated challenge runner. Oh, what a good time for a Discord message, because just after we finished that gym badge, we head up to Meteor Falls, and there's an awful lot to do in the way there, including a fight with Red. During this fight, I was on the ropes for a little bit. I was genuinely concerned when that Snorlax was going to town on us, and ultimately we were left with just Dravinia, who came in absolutely clutch in this fight to finish it up. And finally we can move on into Meteor Falls actual, where we watch that one and only cutscene before doubling back and heading to the top of Mount Chimney for the dreaded fight against Maxie. For this encounter, we only used 4 of our available 6 options, being Flareon, Vaporeon, Espeon and Umbreon, and none of them let me down at all. This fight, once terrifying to me, now, well, now in this run, it's just a nice little way to take a quick and easy breather. One might say it's a nice breaker during the run. A Bard Breaker, another challenge runner you should definitely go and check out. I like to think you've all heard of him, but if you haven't, both Genix and Bard Breaker's links are in the description. Please go and check them out. And send some love. Send them love like I send love to Flannery, because oh, what a hot gym. Even more so now that she's turned the sun on. Despite the potential pain in the arse that sunlight could have brought to us, in the end it didn't really matter. Let's be honest, was anyone expecting otherwise? We're in that part of the game where with suitably leveled Pokemon and enough high-powered ones, it's fairly straightforward. I mean, Flannery, we absolutely spanked her, and yes, in more ways than one. Sorry, I was dreaming for a minute there, but long story short, we claim the 4th badge without any real problems, and we make our way down towards Norman, where I anticipated the problems would begin. The fight against Norman really did have me on edge, I won't lie. The Slacking, Kangaskhan, Tauros and Snorlax all hit so hard and were so bulky they did an awful lot of damage to our team. But fortunately, we do possess enough capability to beat him aside and claim the 5th badge, unlocking, thanks to Wally's dad, the HM for Surf and immediately giving it to Asa Akira. Nothing actually happens then until the Weather Institute, where inside we have to fight the Aqua admin Shelly, who has a team that I think anyone could be nothing shy of envious about. However, we possess a team full of supple and malleable Eeveelutions who absolutely decimate her. As a reward for that and rescuing the people in the Institute, we are given a cast form who we give an appropriately cheeky nickname, and then head off to take on another rival fight. Honestly, getting a bit bored of this run now. It's not like Kaizo to give me a position where I can turn around and say, and this was really easy. But that's again what I have to say. Now granted, they have a much better team than they would in the base game, but it's still not enough. A team of Eeveelutions are more than capable of defeating the rival, and I'm sure they pose no threat for the rest of the game. Knowing what's coming next, I decide to head down and do all the training I can before Mount Pyre, including taking on all of the trainers, one of whom is Gentleman Walter. This man also has a team of Eeveelutions, so I decided this would be a perfect staging ground to see just how our team fare at this point against someone with the same as ours. First up is Laika against his Eevee, and it's a one-shot, nice and straightforward. Second out, his Flareon, our Iroh, and Iroh loses. I was very disappointed. Laika finishes up that fight as Asa Akira, McGrath and Dravinia all have no trouble whatsoever sweeping aside their counterparts. However, when Umbridge came out against his Umbreon, it became the mother of all stalls. This drove me insane. I've sped this footage up ridiculously quickly, mind you. It took at least 3 minutes on speed up to knock him aside, which might not sound like it's too bad, but I'm running speed up at about 12 to 14 times the usual speed of the game, and it still took 3 minutes. Just let that sink in for a moment, eh? In the end, we are victorious, and I never want to do that fight again. That was too much even for me. But then I ran out of trainers when our team was approaching the early 60s, and I knew we had to go and try Winona. There was nothing else that I could do. The idea was simple. First thing to do would be to target that Zapdos and try and keep Asa Akira alive as long as possible. Well, that worked out just fine, didn't it? But do you know what? It wasn't too much of an issue, as yeah, we lost a few team members, but overall her team that featured legendary Pokemon, mind you, was really not that bad. Honestly, in previous runs of Kaizo, this gym had proven to be a massive roadblock, but with the Eevee lines, not a single worry. What was a worry was that when we were at the pinnacle of Mount Pyre, I knew that we had to go and do the dreaded Magma hideout, and it is as bad as you might think. So many grunts, so many trips back out of the cave and to the Poké Center. Tip here, bring the Acro Bite because it's so much quicker. We now have to fight Maxi. Of course, leads off with that Tyranitar and features Entei on his team. Oh, this is a scary battle. I won't lie to everyone, this is a fight where we actually lost. Yeah, I think we've made it all this way before we finally lost a fight. But deep down inside, I knew it was partially my fault. So I just immediately reset and went again, and it was a much more successful ordeal. It was entirely my fault. My switches need to be better. I needed to make more decisions. I needed to stop being #Breph's a pleb for just 2 minutes, and that was all it took to beat Maxi. Well, next we head down to Slateport, watch Archie steal his submarine, and head off in search of him. In fact, the Aqua hideout at this point in time is no more difficult than usual, unfortunately. It really does seem like the difficulty was pumped into that Magma hideout. This is a little bit more straightforward. Out of there, we have to make our way over to Moss Deep, and yes, I am terrified of this gym. You might think I've got no reason to be, given that we've got, I don't know, a dark type user and some strong other Pokemon that can deal multi-target stab damage. But no matter what kind of run it is, Titanizer is always a scary gym to go into. And Kaizo is no different, given that they start off with both Latios and Latias. And then I realised that most, if not all of our team knew Bite, and I was worried no longer. And that is reflected in the fight itself. It was incredibly straightforward. Way more simple than I think this fight had any right to ever be. Oh, if only the game was to stay that straightforward, but no, we have to head into the Space Center to do a double battle fight with Steven against Maxi and his admin. For this, I chose to enter Dravinia, Asa Akira, and McGrath, but however, it turns out I didn't need to worry about putting forward 3 candidates, because we never actually swapped out of Dravinia. It was a really straightforward fight, and it kind of makes sense, because I think, now maybe wrong, but I think the AI is programmed to go for the lowest HP Pokemon. And given our overwhelming level difference at this point, I'm not really surprised by that. But after that, before we head down to the Seafloor Cavern to tangle with Archie, I do what I usually do and head off to discover Pacific Log Town, except I've only gone and done it again. I've found Mirage Island in Emerald Kaizo. I found it in Base Emerald, I've now found it in Kaizo. I think that makes 3 times now that I've found it. One was on a stream, and I know I've definitely found it twice in videos. I found Mirage Island more times than I've found shiny Pokemon. What is going on? Now, if no one minds, I'm going to change my about page to call me the luckiest man in Pokemon challenge runs. Anyway, with the shock of that subsiding, we do head down to the Seafloor Cavern where we have to tangle with Archie. This was another one of those fights where I actually lost again, and this just was so brutal. There was no way around it apart from going and having to grind up levels, the old-fashioned way. Okay, looking back on the footage, it was mainly because I was too stubborn. I didn't want to leave that place and come back and do that ice puzzle all over again. I wasn't feeling it, so I decided to go and come back at a level I was guaranteed to be able to do it, and I still failed because I came back at level 85 and I still got knocked out time after time. So at this point, on went the headphones, on went the grind. I came back with everyone at level 89, and it turned out to be overkill because I completely swept his team. But I didn't anticipate losing multiple times, and we've gotten this far before I really had to go and grind majorly. But with that success, of course, both Super Ancient Beings have been released, and that means that we have to go and save the world by heading to Setopolis, into the Cave of Origin, and finally up to Sky Pillar. Here we awaken the long green pool noodle of death, who decides to go off and do a tiny little thing called save the world. And with that, we gain access to the 8th and final gym. It's a 2-part gym, and the first part is against Wallace. Wallace's fight was incredibly tough, eventually taking us down to our final Pokemon. Fortunately, I'd lost my plebditude from earlier and made some sensible switch choices, so our final Pokemon surviving was our electric type McGrath. That of course guaranteed us the win at least on part 1, because part 2 is just a little bit harder. We've got the double battle fight against Juan, and although it was scarier at face value, this was a fight where Dravinia didn't even need to get switched out. Granted, we did go for a few Pokemon, but the double battle against Juan was far simpler than I believed it should have been. That's a common theme for Emerald Kaizo this run. Can you believe it? The hardest ROM hack ever made, people have called this, and yet a team of 6 Eeveelutions are making it seem pitifully easy. Hey ho, I am not going to complain about that. What I am going to complain about though is the fight against Wally in Victory Road, because he has a Blissey and I have a team of special attacking Pokemon. Yeah, a special wall, and I sat here smashing my head against this special wall for longer than I think most of the fights in this game took in general. Still, the winning attempt makes this look a lot easier than it actually was, and there's not much I can do about that. This was a painstaking fight. But with this being Emerald Kaizo, of course it's not the worst fight in Victory Road, and actually the biggest named fight isn't the worst. We have to fight Red. Oh good god, because for some reason he needed to appear again with a team packed out with legendaries, mythicals and pseudos. It's just a horrible fight, but it's not the worst one, because he doesn't have a team of max level Pokemon like the Elite Four do, but that's not to take away from just how intimidating this was to be faced with. Until we started it and we realised that we've got a counter to pretty much everything on his team, and it was a complete and easy sweep. Did that have anything to do with the fact that I spent the time with my headphones in to grind everyone up to max level in Victory Road before taking on this fight because I was terrified of it? Maybe, but we leave that aside. Now the question remains, can we continue this form of nice easy sweeps? And the only way to figure that out is to initiate the battle with Sydney. The answer, at least in reference to Sydney, is kind of. Yeah, we were taken down to our last Pokemon, but that was Dravinia, and she was more than capable of seeing the fight out. All in all, that was okay, but it was Phoebe where I really thought the difficulty would ramp up, and I really wasn't wrong. We lost this fight on several occasions, just mainly because that Sableye is so ridiculously OP. It just seemed to have a counter for everything I threw at it, and yeah, it took me a few attempts to get the order right, but eventually we do defeat it and her entire team. Moving on to Glacier. There is a common theme emerging from this run, and it seems to be me being taken down to the final Pokemon, and that Pokemon being Dravinia. Glacier was of course no exception to this, as we were indeed taken down to Dravinia, who was more than capable of finishing off her final Pokemon, Wailord. All in all, this actually wasn't that bad, and to be fair, I wasn't worried going into the next fight against Drake. And that cockiness led me to make stupid and plebish decisions, #Breph's a pleb, that ultimately resulted in us failing first time round. Second time, and my focus solely on the fight, no such issues. We defeat Drake, and there is one single trainer standing between us and a completed Emerald Kaizo run. The champion of this game, Steven Stone. Let me tell you, this man held absolutely nothing back. He has a team that is incredible, full of legendaries, full of fast, hard-hitting Pokemon, and my god is it intimidating, at least on face value, until you realise that the core premise of his team is psychic typed, and we've got dark type moves on pretty much everything. Are you following my logic here? Oh, if you're following, you know what's coming. We lead off with Iroh, who decimates Metagross, and later on Jirachi. McGrath comes in to deal with Starmie. Asa Akira can deal with Aerodactyl. Umbreon deals with Mewtwo before going down valiantly to Deoxys. And I make a decision that we are going to finish this fight with our Vaporeon, Asa Akira. She comes out being a Vaporeon, does what a Vaporeon does best, and gets the entire field soaked and we have beaten Pokemon Emerald Kaizo using only a team of Eeveelutions. And can we take a moment to congratulate the Pokemon taking their place in the Hall of Fame? Flareon Iroh, Espeon Dravinia, of course Vaporeon Asa Akira, Umbridge the Umbreon, Laika the Eevee, and of course McGrath the Jolteon. What a valiant performance from all 6 of them. At the start of this challenge I asked a simple question: can you beat Pokemon Emerald Kaizo using only Eeveelutions? And the answer is, as you've seen, yes you can. Would I recommend this one? Absolutely. It was so much fun to do, and it actually made Kaizo a fun game to play. Sure, there are infinitely many combinations of team members that you can get to make the same experience, but there's nothing quite like doing it with a team of only one line of evolutions. I've got to say a huge thank you to Alan Jensen for suggesting this one. Of course, a major huge shout out goes to all of the channel members, and if you would of course like to join the channel as a member, there is a little join button down below and a link in the description. Thank you all so much for coming. Your time is so greatly appreciated. I hope everyone is staying safe and as happy as they can be. If you're looking for a little bit of support, maybe a little bit more enjoyment, a nice laugh, get yourself in the BREPHISH Empire Discord server. The link is also in the description. And that's it. What a run. Thank you all again so much for coming. As I said, your time is so greatly appreciated, and I look forward to seeing all of you, and hopefully some more, in the next one.